Welcome to Sex Help for Smart People. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Jurgens, former science professor turned somatic sexologist and intimacy coach. This podcast is all about helping smart women over 40 and their partners of all genders get the evidence-based relationship and intimacy support you need for great sex and connections. I'm glad you're here, so let's get at it. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 43. We are talking about what's going on when you have a hard time just talking about sex, including with your partner. Like you can have sex with them, but you have a really hard time talking about it and talking about what you want, maybe expressing what you want, maybe expressing what you'd like differently, or even sometimes saying the word sex or any words associated with sex. Now, look, we'll do a whole episode on dirty talk at some point, or maybe, who knows, maybe we'll do a series of episodes because that sounds fun. Today, we are going to talk about the top 3 reasons I see for why it's hard for folks to talk about sex. And just know, if that's you, it's very normal to have a hard time talking about it, even with someone you can be incredibly intimate with. All right, so quick pause too. I wanted to let you know that I have 2 slots coming open as wonderful clients graduate. I have 2 slots coming open for new online clients for Zoom-based sessions. If you're in Asheville and you want an in-person session, also reach out because we can figure that out. But if you are interested in talking and seeing if coaching might be the right fit for you, go ahead and just go to my website and you can book a free 30-minute consultation. It's at laurajurgens.com, and that's Jurgens with a U, so LauraJurgens.com. And you can just click on book a consult. You can also email me, laura@laurajurgens.com, and I'll send you my calendar link. All right, friends. So what are the top 3 reasons that people have a hard time talking about sex? So the first one is that you have some shame. You may have a repressive background, either a family that just didn't talk about anything to do with bodily functions, that's pretty common, or religious shame or some sort of cultural shame. And it has seeped in and you have just a really hard time getting words out about sex. Now, you will know this because it literally feels like the words are stuck in your throat, or you are just overwhelmed by embarrassment anytime you try. If this is you, this is really normal and really common. Doesn't mean there's anything to be ashamed about, and it doesn't mean you don't want to fix it, because you will want to be able to talk to your sexual partners about sex, right? To find out what they want, to find out what you want. And so the 2 of you can collaborate, or the more of you than that, can collaborate on having the best possible experiences to support each other's wonderful, fun times in eroticism, right? You want to play together, so you want to be able to talk about it. So we don't want to just let that go and just allow ourselves to sort of follow or obey our embarrassment or obey that sort of shaming programming that we received. But you also don't have to feel ashamed about being ashamed. Please don't do that. That just adds on more negative, really, and shame is a shitty emotion to feel. It feels awful. So let's not add any more of that on. There is nothing shameful about feeling ashamed talking about sex when you live in a society that shames sex. It's very normal. So let's normalize where you're at, allow yourself to be there, and then your prescription, and I'm going to give like a little prescription for each one of these challenges. Your prescription is to start small with small little ways. Like if it's even hard to say the word sex, then maybe find some small ways to start normalizing expressing that word. And it may be like in text messaging or writing, for example. Or maybe watching a movie that has some spicy scenes feels like really embarrassing to you. So you could try watching kind of like something really soft, right? That just has like a minorly spicy scene. I want you to challenge you to find like cute ways to embrace your shyness. Let it be adorable. Don't feel bad about it. if you can, and if you need help not feeling bad about it, that's what I'm here for. Tell your partner that you are struggling. So if you have a partner and you have a hard time talking about it, just say, hey, babe, I would really like to be able to talk about if you can't see the word sex, say love life. I would really like to be able to talk about our intimacy. You can come up with other words, but I have a hard time getting the words out and I notice I'm really embarrassed. So can you help me? Could we play with this together, right? You also need to start building some confidence. So starting small will help. Don't force yourself to, start having the most intense dirty talk in the world, right? You don't want to force yourself to start being able to, you're not going to be able to, right? Start small. And then lean into your strengths. So allow yourself to find whatever sexual superpowers you have. And I'm going to recommend a couple episodes. In particular, episode 11 of this podcast is called Becoming Shameless. You want to go grab that if you haven't. And if you have listened to it, probably listen to it again. And number 6 is finding your sexual superpowers. And that one will also help you lean into your strengths and build some confidence. All right. So that's for those of you with the shame, repression, blockage and talking about sex. The second most common, and I don't know that I'm going to just put these are the top 3. I don't know what order they're in terms of frequency. The second one in the top 3 is you are avoiding kind of an imagined confrontation with your partner. You are afraid of hurting their feelings or afraid of a bad reaction. And you think that not saying anything is either protecting them from your imagined criticism, and you imagine it being kind of harsh and hard for them to take, or you're protecting you from your fears of their bad reaction, or both. So what's happening here is you're letting your own fear of other people having feelings keep you from honesty that your partner would actually benefit from and that you would benefit from. That's a bummer. Now, look, I have done it, so there is no shame in this either. This is a really common. So many people do this. So many of my clients do this. We all do it sometimes. In fact, I think we all do this sometimes in some ways, just maybe not about sex or maybe not about everything about sex, but we do this sort of we imagine we're protecting our partners from having hurt feelings when what we're really doing is we're protecting ourselves from having to, 1, be really thoughtful about how we say it, and 2, deal with whatever their feelings might be, right? And kind of dealing with our own feelings about it too. So now look, there is a situation in which you may find yourself. I think this is really the exception, not the rule, but there are relationships in which your partner truly cannot handle any requests from you about what you'd like without losing their shit. They're going to fly off the handle. They're going to make you feel unsafe. If that is your relationship, then okay, you need to decide if you really want that relationship dynamic and if you want to be in that relationship. I would suggest that you really sit and think about that question. If you really can't trust your partner to handle an honest request from you about what you would like in order to make your intimacy even better for you, which means it's going to be better for them too. Most of the time, that is not the case. Most of the time, your partner can handle that. But it's more, we have fears. It's not their actual bad reactions. It's our fears of their bad reactions. Or, this has happened to me too. So again, not shaming here. Or we may have said things in a crappy, mean, harsh way in the past. And so we're imagining our partner is going to react badly to future requests because we're remembering how they reacted to those ones where we were not kind, we were not thoughtful, and we had most likely let something build up. We didn't say anything, and then it came out really harshly, and of course they responded badly. That is on us, at least as much as it's on them, right? Usually a little bit more, because the way we ask for things really matters. It doesn't mean our partner has no interest in hearing what we actually want and in talking about how we can kind of co-create an even better sex life together. Chances are your partner really does want that. So if you have a partner for whom you can give them the benefit of the doubt, then your prescription for this situation is to practice saying feedback and desires in a positive way. So like, hey, I would really love if we play with our sex life and try to make it even better for both of us. Or like, I really enjoy being close to you. I really enjoy being in a relationship with you. And I have some ideas for what might make it even more fun for both of us. And I know this would turn me on even more, right? Do you see how those are like positively framed? Those aren't saying you suck and you do this really shitty and I wish you wouldn't kiss me like that because it's awful. We're saying, hey, I like you. I like being with you. There's some sort of positive connection there, right? And then we're offering that we have some ideas for how to make things even better. So practice that with small stuff first. Just like the shame thing, with everything we want to start small to practice because it's unfamiliar. And you don't want to give yourself the Mount Everest. You don't want to go into like an entire play-by-play of how you wish they would do cunnilingus differently, right? On your first attempt at trying to give a small amount of feedback, okay? Doesn't mean you shouldn't go there. Doesn't mean you shouldn't say exactly what you want in cunnilingus. You absolutely should. But if it's very hard for you, don't set yourself the Mount Everest that is terrifying, that you think is going to go over really badly or you don't know how to talk about on your first effort, right? Start with something smaller or even some little part. Like, I would love when you go down on me, if we could start it out like this, can I show you, right? So start small to practice. And then I also highly recommend, if you are one of these people, just like me, who used to be really afraid of how my partner was going to respond to requests, I highly recommend you learn how to do relationship repair really well. And that means that when you have a misunderstanding or an argument, you know how to lead the two of you in a process where you can really solve that misunderstanding in a way that you come out stronger and more closely connected. And the reason that's so powerful, if you are someone who is very worried about protecting your partner's feelings, is because you are at root conflict avoidant. The conflict avoidant part of you will be soothed so much, so deeply by knowing the skills of navigating a conflict in a way that actually brings you closer. It'll feel like, oh, it's okay. I don't have to be perfect all the time, because I know that if like my partner is inadvertently hurt, I know how to repair that. I know how to actually help them feel really better. And it's not just going to spiral into this sort of like shitstorm in our relationship. Okay. So I recommend, and I don't teach relationship repair on the podcast because it's kind of an advanced skill. It's really an advanced skill, and it takes some real dedicated practice and coaching to teach that. But I do highly recommend the Somatica repair process. I can link it in the podcast notes. And I do recommend learning, though, with a professional and really having somebody navigate that with you and even just practice it with you before you try to do it with a partner. But you can read it. You can read the blog and try it out on your own if you want. That said, the episodes that I have for you, for your prescription, are number 8, which is the episode of this podcast that talks about attuning to yourself first. And that's a really important skill for you, especially if you are someone who's afraid of other people's responses. Number 10, which most of us are, to be honest, right? Number 10 in this podcast is also really going to be helpful for you, and that is called How and When to Talk to Your Partner About Sex. And that will also really give you some good tips about sort of timing and the way you bring things up and how to do it in a positive way. All right. Number 3 in the top 3 reasons it's hard for people to talk about sex. Number 3 is that you have no idea what you want. So it's really hard to talk about what you want. I have also been there. I've had all of these. And I've seen them in so many people. So again, not knowing what you want, there is no shame in that. It is 100% normal and okay to just you have this sense that you're not fulfilled. You know that you don't really like the sex you're getting, or you are not really getting what you need to be fully aroused. You're not really feeling fully turned on. You're just kind of going through the motions maybe. Sometimes you get kind of turned on and you're not really sure exactly why that particular time was better than another time. You know, there's almost like this aspect of like, well, I just don't know. Like, right? There's this mystery. If that is you, I see you. You are also 100% normal. And the prescription I have for you, my darling, is to figure out, of course, your desires, but also really to emphasize de-shaming. Because what happens here is oftentimes we are subconsciously repressing ourselves. We don't know what we want, in part because we haven't given ourselves permission to have our desires, whatever they are. So you need help figuring out your desires, and you also may need help de-shaming them. So a place to start is with my freebie, the Wheel of Erotic Emotions workbook that I have. It's called Find Your Secret Turn-Ons. You can get it right on my homepage on my website for free. You will sign up for my email list, and then it will you put in your email, and then it'll just send it to you, and you'll have the worksheet. And you can always unsubscribe if you don't want emails. I'm totally in support of you doing whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. But start with that because it will really walk you through how to understand your own turn-ons. In particular, this psychological arousal, which is really the heart of human eroticism and how we get turned on. So start with that, and also really practice slowing yourself down and not censoring when you are having any fantasies. So allow yourself to slow down in your fantasies, in your masturbation practice, whatever you do. And when you are try to actually fantasize. And try not to censor yourself. Really imagine into what feels sexy, what feels delicious, and start getting curious about that. See if you can allow yourself to notice what actually turns you on, whether it's in fantasy or real life. Just notice, ooh, that feels good. I like that. Or even notice what you find attractive, right? Notice what just sort of gives you that little spark. And it may be not what you expect, right? We've got these ideas in our heads from media that we're all supposed to be turned on by the same stuff. And it's usually some weird cis hetero, 20-second montage. Somebody's I don't know, doing something really stereotypical. And that is just not the reality of most human beings, okay? So see if you can instead get curious, notice what actually turns you on, and try to accept it. And the episodes I want to suggest for you are number 3, 5, and 6 of this podcast. So that's way back in the beginning. Number 3 is Arousal and Desire 101. Number 5 is Psychological Arousal. And number 6 is Finding Your Sexual Superpowers. And those will be really helpful for those of you who are in this category of just not knowing what you want enough to be able to actually ask for it. And that's why you feel blocked in talking about sex. All right, my dears. Those are the top 3 reasons that I see, but there are other ones. And if you have other ones, please reach out to me. I'm always curious about your experience. You can send me an email, laura@laurajurgens.com. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. And, practice starting small and have fun with that. All right, I'll see you here soon. Hey, if you're curious about how you could have better sex and connections, go grab my free guide, Find Your Secret Turn-Ons. It's right on my website, www.laurajurgens.com, and the link is in the show notes. I'll see you here next time.